But I'm going to start working on the garden. Now I think you can hear me. Well, you know what? Let me go back in here for a minute. Okay. The orange buckets, I leave, well, let me back up a minute. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 coffee shops that call themselves gourmet coffee shops. You know, everybody kind of hangs out there. You know, they have, you know, the Wi-Fi. You know, they sell scones and you know, these giant muffins and all that kind of stuff. And a couple of them serve, you know, sandwiches, breakfast sandwiches and lunches and stuff like that. However, one of them gives me his coffee grounds. He opened up a few months back, and I stopped in there, and you know, after going in there 2 or 3 times, you know, I had said to him, "What do you do with your old coffee grounds?" He goes, "Throw them out." I said, "Well, I can use them for my garden." Ready? I said, "Great." So, but this is what I use for my gardens. Coffee grounds is in the orange ones. The gray one is just compost, you know, like vegetables and things like that we use throughout the course of the week. You know, we put them in there, and then I take them and put them out back, which is where we're going today, because that pile is at a point now to where I can start mixing it. Now I also take all the the ash from the wood burning throughout the course of the year. Now this takes a little bit longer. This will probably, well, you know what, a couple weeks if I can get out here. But anyway, there's the pile. So I'm going to dump the coffee grounds and our vegetables into that pile. Then I'm going to walk around water tank, fresh water tank out of a boat. Now you don't need one of these. You can use just a 55-gallon plastic drum if you want. But I got the hose on it, and why that's down hanging on the ground is because I just drained it for the winter. But I normally keep this tucked up in that hole right there, and that's where she lies. I, throughout the course of the summer, even starting now, I will take some of those coffee grounds and put in here, even though there's probably already some in there. But I'll take some of those coffee grounds and put in here. I may even throw some old leaves in there, because it makes a nice little a tea sort of call, and we use that to feed the plants. We don't use it on every watering. We use the sprinklers, but you know, once a week we'll come out here and grab some of this, and then we'll, you know, nurse each plant with some. So it works great, because once that's filled with water and it's got a couple pounds of coffee in it and some leaves, and at times I'll even take eggshells and I'll put them in the blender, because if you put them in there whole, they'll clog up the hose. I'll put them in the blender and I'll dice them up real small, and I'll put those in there. So it doesn't smell the best, but it does a real good job on feeding the plants. There we are. That's a good, rich coffee. And as you see, he even separates it for me. More of the espresso type, the darker brew versus the lighter brew. I told him he doesn't have to do that, but he just keeps them at different sides of the pots, so that's how it works out. But there it is. So I'm going to throw that in there. I'll probably grab about another 8 of them, and then excuse me, because I also use this for some of the plants out in front, and the things to give them their little kick and to kind of help them through the season. So, but I'll grab about another 8, 6 or so will end up back in this pile. 2 of them will just sit in here, and I'll mix up as I need in that 50-gallon drum back there. Well, it's a little damp, so it's hard to tell, but it's definitely a nice dark, rich soil. So this year we should get some good veggies. So I just kind of backbladed down a few, and then what I'll do is I'll clean up the pile that I backed up and start pushing it back in. and just go back and forth with the blade a few times, loosen it up. I haven't got a tiller, but once I get the bucket off the back, the weight bucket, and I put the backhoe on there, what I do is I put the backhoe, extend it all the way out, put the teeth down, and just let it rest. And as I drive, it gives me a nice 6-inch from the teeth, nice 6-inch deep trenching, which works out just fine, so I don't have to worry about it.